Our final piece tonight is an American premiere and comes from the youngest composer on the program tonight. He's on his way to Rome shortly. He's a winner of this year's Rome Prize, which means he'll be spending time in that famous villa in Rome with all the American poets and sculptors and other artists who are winners of this annual prize. But before he heads off, there is the little matter of this American premiere. Please welcome Anthony Cheung. Anthony? So first of all, congratulations. Rome Prize has been, you know, a prestigious award for several generations of American composers. Do you go with a plan, or do you just kind of wait for things to happen there?
The idea is to go with a proposal of a project that you work on throughout the year. In my case, it's a continuation and completion of a piece for the Pagliei ensemble, which is an ensemble based here in New York that I co-direct. Mm-hmm. And Alex, here in the percussion section, also directs with me.
And James Baker has worked with you guys.
The conductor, Jim Baker, who works with us as well.
So that's the plan, but my experience of my experience of talking to other Rome Prize composers is that they all come back with other things that they did not expect to have happen, because you're there in a villa. It's like this hotbed of creativity, all these interdisciplinary things. Have you done interdisciplinary work before?
Not like a very hands-on kind of collaboration, but I'm certainly influenced by the visual arts, by poetry, different types of literature that find their way into my work. But I hope something emerges from my time there.
It seems like it inevitably does. So again, congratulations, good luck with that. Now this piece, mobile is one of those words you could say mobile, mobile, Alexander Calder's type mobiles. I mean, how are you pronouncing this word? Because it sort of goes to the whole point of the piece.
Yeah, I'm really thinking of the Calder type of explanation, not automobile or anything like that.
Right.
But yeah, the idea was as a native of San Francisco, I grew up hearing the sounds of foghorns and how they interact with the environment, as well as lighthouses. And it was kind of second nature to me to hear these sounds growing up. And I find that increasingly as I'm distant from the Bay Area, I find that going back, it takes on a kind of new poignancy, kind of nostalgia, and I associate these sounds with certain memories and whatnot.
Are you familiar with Ingram Marshall's piece, Fog Tropes?
Yeah, very much. And he actually uses recordings of some of the foghorns, including the famous one from the Golden Gate Bridge. Actually, there are two, and I think he uses a low A from the Golden Gate Bridge. In my piece, I use the low A, and then there's a two-toned horn as well that comes from the south pier of the Golden Gate Bridge. But I also went to other lighthouses, Point Bonita, Point Diablo, and I tried to observe the patterns, and they're relatively standardized. They're automated. For instance, the one at Point Bonita, you hear a kind of lowered G every 4 seconds. 2 seconds of G and then 2 seconds of silence. And depending on where you are situated, that silence can be kind of like a resonance or not. And so I try to depict various locales, various vantage points for the listener as these horns are changed by the density of the fog, which in fact they're activated automatically by densities of fog.
Okay, so even though, I was going to say, I'm a little disappointed to hear they're automated. I thought they were sort of, in fact, so they still do respond to the weather conditions.
Yeah.
Now, what is Saarberger's role here as the horn soloist? Is he the foghorns? Is it that specific, or is that role sort of spread throughout the orchestra?
The actual foghorn roles are more spread throughout the orchestra, and they're kind of, all of the brass instruments, they're pairs of horns, pairs of trumpets, and they're placed antiphonally, so opposite one another. And Saar's role, the soloist, is to kind of interact with that, but not necessarily play the actual horns, because the horns are kind of like points of reference, they're kind of anchors throughout the piece. And Sar is oftentimes emerging out of those pitches, but in a more kind of lyrical, melodic way. And there's a kind of role for him as well in the end, which is kind of a distant role as he kind of recedes at the very end.
Does he literally and physically recede at the end of the piece?
Yes, he does.
Okay. Now this is the American premiere. The world premiere was a larger orchestra, right? A larger orchestral version.
That's right. The world premiere took place in November with the Frankfurt Radio Symphony, and that was a version for a larger orchestra, about 60 players, and tonight it's for 32 players. And Sar was also the soloist on that occasion. He's based in Frankfurt and plays with the ensemble there, so he flew all the way out for this. I'm very happy to have him.
All right, we are happy to have him, and you as well, Anthony.
Thank you.
Thank you very much. We'll hear the American premiere of Fog Movies by Anthony Cheung.